Did you just say there's no point about Illuvials having stats? No, he said if we can burn bad Illuvials to increase our stats, there's only good stats Illuvials, and then there's no point in having stats at all, because they're all gonna have good stats anyway. And I agree, as long as we focus our esports efforts not only on Leviathan, or not mainly on Leviathan. Because, again, I live for PvP, basically, in my gaming life, and I know that nobody from Web 2 wants to play a PvP game which is pay to earn, where I have to put thousands of bucks in to get the perfect stats Illuvials to not have a disadvantage. And even if that disadvantage is very small, maybe I have a 0.1% less chance of winning, this sucks. It just feels bad. So I really hope we're going to focus our esports efforts on casual and not on Leviathan. Leviathan should also be incentivized through ranked leaderboards and money incentives, rewards, but it shouldn't be our main esport thing, because that doesn't make sense in any proven concepts in esports. It is always exactly same chances. Of course, there's things like Hearthstone where you need to pay money to get all the cards, but once you have the cards, you have the same chances. There's also things like Pokemon is an example where you have IVs and EVs, basically stats. That's where we get it from. But there it is not a monetary value, really. It's just more a time effort to get those perfect stats. And then even there, they introduced things where, from for example, I don't know. I'm not too deep in the Pokemon esports scene, but yeah. We do need fair chances for everybody that's competing, and not a 5,000 perfect stat deck to have these fair chances or to get an advantage. I think people rather have the same chance, like we see it in League of Legends, like we see it in shooters and so on, instead of paying more and having a better chance. This is fun for whales, but it's not a thing that is good for esports. Sounds to me like esports will be Leviathan from the town hall. It does sound like that. And it has sounded like this in other channels that I've listened to. And I don't like that. It doesn't make sense. We're gonna alienate any competitive esport player with that. The same like Parallel. He mentioned Parallel a bunch of times. Parallel wouldn't work if those cards also had stats. Basically putting another layer of pay to win on it. It's enough that getting all these cards costs a lot, but once you got them, you have fair chances. And it's the same with, for example, I like to take Ascended Arena, for example. Like, this is already pay to win because you have to pay to get all the Illuvials to have a full deck. But then, to get to Leviathan Ascended Arena, you have to have all the Illuvials plus perfect stats, like just another layer of buying stuff. It doesn't work. I don't think they plan to burn for stats. It doesn't sound like it. I want to pick Aaron's brain on it a bit more. I don't think he's Mr. Esports. He's not focused on that too much. But I could be wrong, and I would like to hear his opinion about this. 90% of tournaments should be non-Leviathan, and you can have a big prize and a ladder Leviathan. That will work, yeah. Leviathan should be the niche if we're not planning to make perfect stats Illuvials very accessible, which kind of doesn't make sense. So I think we should keep it as it is, just focus on non-Leviathan for esports, for tournaments, and so on. A burn mechanism is essential? I don't think so. Without a burn mechanism, the floor price of Illuvials goes down because we have more supply than demand. Not a bad thing. I can get a full Ascendant team with bad stats for $5. That's huge. That's great. If we get more players into the ecosystem, that's going to fix it a bit as well. It doesn't have to be a burn mechanism for everything. We have a lot of them already. Even low elo guys are playing perfect Pokemon. Yes. And that's, I think, a little bit of the misconception. It's kind of like, oh, somebody that wants to play competitively in esports, they are able to invest the money. They're really able to dedicate it. That's not the case anymore. These days, every casual player wants to play competitive. That's why there is millions of thousands of players, 100,000s of players in silver rank in league, in bronze rank in league, in gold, in platinum rank in league. these are all casual players. They're not really good at the game, but they love playing competitively. And if you give nobody the chance to have the same chance in a competitive game, it's not competitive. It's like, I don't know, it's like you make an Olympic Games, but I don't know if there was, it's kind of like Formula One, right? The best car, the most expensive car usually wins. It gives you a huge advantage. But this is not a competitive sport for casual people. It's for big institutions and companies. I don't know if that metaphor makes sense, but I think you know what I mean. I'm glad you have that view because it's the same as mine. So if more people see this, we might get it. Yeah, I've also talked to the community council. They feel the same way. So I think it's a loud minority that are trying to push for Leviathan being our esports standard. And many times it comes from a place of, I already got all the perfect stats Illuvials. I want Illuvium to go that direction. Like a lot of people talk from a perspective of wanting to pump their own backs. And then I don't know how Kieran really stands on it, but if he's also trying to go for esports being Leviathan being our esports competitive standard, somebody has to convince him that it's not the right move. We have to do competition, IIP, post, feedback idea post. Feel free to post there those things that we're talking about and send me the link. And I'm happy to support you on that. On one side, I think it's nice, their stats, but on the other hand, I want fair tournaments too. Yeah, that's exactly the point, right? It's nice to have good stats. They have a use case in Leviathan and being very rare, expensive, and so on. But we shouldn't focus our competitive esport scene onto this. Gotta remember when Rangers in Gauntlet, the weapon have stats too, so that it's even more pay to win. Yeah, it's crazy. Like if we do this, if we make our competitive esports standard Leviathan with the prices that we have on perfect stat things, like a perfect stat tier 5 stage 3 weapon is probably $2,000. That's insane. That's like multiple times more than any other pay to win game that we had before. It's not really pay to win in my head. It's more like pay to get to the end game, to the point where you have the best chances. And I would rather see something like spend time, maybe spend some money to get to a point where everybody has the same chances. And I think, because somebody said earlier, if we do non-Leviathan, we're losing. I don't think that. If we focus on non-Leviathan with all the big prize pool that Kieran has mentioned, with all that ammunition we got stored up in form from money that we can give out to bring people in, we gotta be on point with Web 2 games, with League of Legends, free-to-play games that give every player the same chance of competing. Because if you're a casual player, you already have a hard time, because oftentimes you're gonna get smacked around. But if then also you have to consider that maybe you got smacked around because the enemy guy had more money than you, this is just the worst feeling I could imagine. And it's very against the essence, the soul of esports. I'm honestly so glad your brain and Kieran's brain seemingly are in the right place. Yeah, I don't have that much influence as Kieran, but I'm trying to push. The other day I saw some statistics, like the Illumination community, our community right here, we are one of the biggest, I think the biggest English-speaking community that we have. So sometimes I get like imposter syndrome or something, but we are actually huge in Illuvium and we can make moves, we can get together, and yeah, we do have some influence. And obviously, I think I want to just have the best for the DAO, the best for the project, and the best for the long term. And it feels really cool to talk to the community daily on streams about all these things that are really important for the project. Decreasing the value of low stat Illuvials to lower and lower isn't healthy for the game. No. It's way healthier to decrease the value of high stat Illuvials. But ideally we would have a nice balance, I think, between them, where Leviathan is this niche for whales, for enthusiasts, for all the people who got hooked, who go deeper and deeper into the Illuvium rabbit hole in a positive thing. And then non-Leviathan, we still need a good name for that, because it's not really casual, not really, yeah. Non-Leviathan should just be the esports standard. I think we can all agree on that. And there should be big Leviathan tournaments, right? The main point of Leviathan is you pay a lot of money to get better chances, or to have the best chances, and then you can earn a lot of money by winning those big tournaments. But it should be maybe 1 out of 10 tournaments, and the main focus should be on non-Leviathan. Farming and selling stats, so that's pumping my bag, but I'd rather play for rank 1 in non-pay-to-win mode instead. Yeah, and the other thing is that many people, we also had a similar discussion with Illuvium Zero. If you, sometimes somebody has to take a hit. For example, Illuvium Zero had to take a hit at the launch. Maybe now good stat owner, Illuvial owners have to take a hit because it's not going to be the main focus for esports. But this is going to be good for the project as a whole. So in the long run, it's going to increase the value of your good stats Illuvials. Because if we do something that's good for you but bad for the project goes to shit, and your good stats Illuvials will be worth nothing anyway. So first and foremost, always we gotta think about the best for the DAO, and never for the best of single instances of games or individuals that have individual assets. Isn't the business model of all successful mobile Web 2 games reliant on whales spending towards game leaderboards? Yeah, that's why. No. Like most successful Web 2 games, their whole model is based around skins, about things that don't give you any advantage in a competitive scene. But that's why we need good stats, right? We still need a way for whales and Illuvium addicts to pump as much money in as they want to pump into the game. Like, there's people in League of Legends who buy skins for $500. Like, we need this stuff, and I think it's a great stuff with the stats and Leviathan. I love that. But it shouldn't be the main focus for esports. It doesn't make sense. You can ask any esport enthusiast, and he's going to tell you the same, I think. If you make tournaments for non-Leviathan, the value increases because there's now demand. Yeah. First and foremost, we need player acquisition. Once we get players, everything is going up. And I think player acquisition is only happening if we are on the esports standard of Web 2, of other games, where if you have the stuff, talking again about Ascendant Arena, if you have all the cards, you can play competitively. You don't have another layer of stats. Or in Gauntlet, free to play, TFT. People, we want to onboard TFT player, right? That's our main audience that we want to attract to Gauntlet. So we gotta make an environment that is good, that is similar, that honors the same values as TFT. And the most important value of TFT is being able to download the game, start up the game, play, and you have the exact same chance as somebody who has been playing every day for the last 3 years. So I think there is no discussion. There is no counter argument to that, I think. You can have 2 esports scenes, prize pools. Yes, but the main one should be the non-Leviathan. And then there should always be a few big ones for the flags in Leviathan, for the big wallets, where they want to just throw money at the wall and give them a bit of better level. Or in the very high stages, you have to spend a lot of money to have a full perfect team like the others that you compete against, and where you compete for that huge prize money because you spent $10,000 on a perfect team, like all the other guys in there. Because without the perfect team, you cannot compete. And at this point, it's just like this super high exclusive tournaments, which should be there, but very, very seldomly and not the standard. They spend on cosmetics, right? That's the earning model of Web 2, cosmetics. So we have so many revenue streams already in the game that we don't need to double down on Leviathan. I think this will come naturally. Mobile games would disagree with you. Yeah, they have stuff that we also have with credits, right? We have the same thing in mobile games where you can speed up your progress. But it's not like mobile games like Clash of Clans. You cannot spend more money to have... I'm not so good with mobile games. I don't want to make any assumptions there. But talking about competitive esports scene in general, you can... It's not that hard like it would be in Leviathan to get to that end level where you have the best chances. It's more about getting to that end level where you have equal chances. The model for Web 2 games is to have a fun game that people want to play nonetheless. They don't give a fuck. They don't give shit if you are spending money or not. Well, they care a lot about... They want to have a good game so people spend money, right? The number one priority for any game is to make money. I don't think there is, except for some indie games, which just do it for fun. But yeah, to get people to spend the money, you gotta get them hooked. You gotta get them invested. And we're doing a great job. The story is apparently awesome from what I've seen, from what I've heard. It's pretty good. Delivery is not good yet. And once we have the story delivery good, the story is good, the art is good, you can fall in love with every single Illuvial right here. Like Pokemon Who? Like all these Illuvials are so clean. They are all of the quality. Like if you take Pokemon from 20 years ago and you transform it to the future, this is what it looks like. Super clean, super iconic, a lot of character in all of them if you see all the animations and stuff. And the IIP you can really get hooked on. We just need to work on delivery. And once we have that, we have player onboarding, right? I just don't want to alienate people with making the ceiling of being able to play a fair competitive match super, super high. It is already high, again, in Ascendant, with just owning all the Illuvials. And it's fine, I think, to focus on free-to-play Gauntlet. That was the plan from the beginning. I don't know why we swapped all our efforts, it seems like, at least from what I've heard, to Leviathan Gauntlet. Not a single TFT player will like that. Like they're like, oh, here's another spin at the TFT game. Come in, you have huge prize pools, you want to compete. And then they come in, they're like, what? I need to buy all monsters, and they all have to have perfect stats, so I don't have a disadvantage to somebody who has more money? The fuck, dude? I'm instantly deleting it. But in a play-to-earn game, you have to earn if you're a good player. We're not really a play-to-earn game, right? We're kind of a play-to-own game. The whole aspect is that we can own all the Illuvials we capture, all the assets you get in the game, you own them. And now we have the airdrop system, which is play-to-earn. But this is just for early player onboarding. This is not a system that is burnt into Illuvium to be able to extract money. You will be able to earn if you're a really good player. And the threshold is less than in Web 2, because in Web 2 it's the same, right? But to become a pro player in Web 2 is way harder than earning a similar amount of money in Web 3, right? You still have to be a good player in Illuvium, but if you are a decent player, if you put in the time, you should be able to get some money out of it through competitiveness. And it shouldn't require you to buy a $2,000 deck. Like we talked about that very, very much in the beginning, years ago, when we talked about how much should a team cost? How much should this team cost, right? For Ascendant Arena. And a lot of people agreed it shouldn't be hundreds of dollars. It should be maybe $50, $20. And we have the same thing with Gauntlet Leviathan. Since we cannot keep the price of high stats Illuvials so low that it is achievable for a vast majority of the community, we shouldn't focus our esports and competitive efforts on it. And that's it. At this point, I feel like we might be going in circles with the conversation, so we're gonna keep going with the town hall. I feel like this is the issue that splits the community. Yeah, but I think one side knows what they're talking about. They have experience. They have played PvP. They are passionate about competitiveness, about esports and all of that. And the other side is some crypto bros or people that are invested. They want to see their Illuvials be worth more, and everybody else has to pay the amount they paid for their perfect stats Illuvials and so on. I don't think it. I think it is split, but I think it sounds very dumb. One side is right, one side is wrong. One side comes from a genuine place of trying to make a good, enjoyable, competitive game, and one side comes from the side of a crypto bro. So yeah. And it's similar, like in League of Legends. You start up the game, you install it. Let's take TFT aside for now. You have to play till level 30. You have to unlock all your characters. You might pay to unlock a lot of them because it takes so long. People don't mind investing time, but they wanna get to a point where they have the same. When they want to get to a point where they're able to compete, they're unlocking the ranked ladder, and they're able to compete with the same chances as the other guy. Maybe he has more characters to play with, but if both would play the same character, they have the exact same chance. And I think this is not discussable. This is the worst thing I could imagine. To play a game, lose the game, look at the stats. This guy had perfect stats. I have shit stats. Fuck this shit game. I just lost because I have a smaller wallet than my opponent. Again, it's a nice thing, a nice niche for whales, for enthusiasts, for whatever. If you capture that perfect stat Illuvial, instead of selling it, you want to keep it and want to try it out. There's a lot of use cases for this. But for the overall competitive esports scene, it's an absolute failure, I think, to focus on that. So yeah, I'm happy to if I, for example, I'm not really sure yet what Kieran thinks about it and what's the plan. I want to also ask Aaron. I don't know if he has the answer to it. I don't think we know yet, but it seems like from what we're hearing that they want to double down on Leviathan being the esports standard. And as we've talked now over the last 10-20 minutes, it makes zero sense to me.
And just get money from it, right? If there's not demand there or enough demand there, then the prices are going to go down. But I will say we're introducing a lot of things. Just 2 days ago, we introduced the ability for you to use your own fuel in the overworld. So you might say, you know what? I'm not going to sell my fuel because I'm not getting the price that I ideally like. And so I'm going to go and use it to try and capture my own Ramfire or whatever it might be. And then you can sell that Ramfire on the marketplace and you can make some money that way, right? So we're introducing multiple new ways for you to utilize your fuel, and that will happen over the next 6 to 12 months. But on top of that, the main thing is we need people we need more people to be buying fuel on the other side. The pricing of land that we sold was an incredibly high amount. And remember, we didn't do that at a fixed price. We did that Dutch auction. So if you bought at a price that you accepted and you thought you were going to, if that's what you cared about, that you were going to make your money back and through selling fuel. Now, we've gone into a bear market subsequently, and with that, there's less demand than what I believe landholders anticipated, which I think makes sense. It's in my head as well. And but if things turn around very, very quickly, there can be a situation where the demand in overworld outweighs the amount of fuel that's generated. And I guarantee you the fuel, the landholders that will be the first people saying, increase our fuel production. All of the fuel is being sold at the top rail. The overworld people are unhappy. Give us more fuel, right? And we will do that. So like it goes down one way, it can go up the other way, and that's built into the system. Ideally, that's automated, so it doesn't feel as sort of clunky as what it did.
One thing I want to also mention about Illuvium Zero, we had that with launch where the loud minority in the Illuvium Discord that comes from Illuvium Zero, like a few loud individuals. Hey, yes, the same picture as me. That's my identity. We're screaming that it's us against them, us against Illuvium. They are not treating us right. No, it is always us all together for the project, because if the project doesn't work out, your stuff is gonna go to zero anyway. sometimes you're gonna get burned, but it's always for the better of the project, which is gonna help you in the end, which is